Hello, everybody. Welcome to the webinar for today. Very excited to be with you. I am Dr. Bill Davis with UCM Practice Growth Systems, and very excited to present this information to you. Today, we're going to be talking about 5 boxes you must check before hiring your first associate. So this is ideal for you, Doc, if you are in that range of doctors who is a solo practitioner, has established yourself as some baseline foundational success in the practice, but have not hired that first associate yet, or if you have hired associate before and it didn't go well, this webinar is also for you, so that next time you do hire an associate, it's going to be more effective and it's going to work more effectively for you in your practice. And so, over the past 10 years, we've helped dozens of upper cervical practices hire associates. And my goal today is to save you time and money, because whether you're hiring your first associate or you want a better experience than last time, we're going to get you covered today. We know the answers to the questions. We know what works and what doesn't. We've seen this over and over and over. So if you're in that range, you're somewhere in that 20 to 70,000 a month range in collections, and you haven't hired that first associate yet, we're going to help you today. And so very excited to present this information to you. So what are you going to learn today? You're going to know how to determine if you're collecting enough each month to afford an associate. We're going to talk about how to set expectations with clearly defined results, metrics and bonuses, KRAs, KPIs, etc. We're going to talk about how to develop systems that don't depend on your personality to succeed. We're going to talk about what you need to do to make sure that you have enough new patients to fill both of your schedules. We're going to talk about how to make sure your overhead is under control before bringing on your highest paid team member. We're also going to talk about how to make sure that your mindset is right to effectively lead and mentor an associate doctor. Talk about how to develop a training system for your associates and all your team members to thrive. How to make sure your mission, vision, and values are shared with your entire team, including your associate, and talk about what you need to focus on right now in order to grow to the next practice growth stage, and much, much more. And so a lot to cover, a lot of things that we're going to be going over today. Let's get started. So let's talk about, get it right out of the way. 5 boxes you must check before hiring your first associate. Box number 1, mindset has to be right. We'll talk about that. Finances have to be right. Number 3, team and systems. Number 4, expectations. Number 5, new patients. So those are the 5 boxes we're going to be going over. I'm going to dive deep into each of those. Let's get going. So box number 1, you got to have your mindset be right in order for this to work. When you go from having a solo practice to having a multi-doctor practice, many different things have to change, but the biggest change has to happen within your own mind. You have to want to lead and mentor an associate doctor. You have to be a purpose-driven doc who wants to help more people, and you have to have a clearly defined mission, vision, and values. So we're going to talk about each of those. And I also just wanted to mention, if you don't have our book, Upper Cervical Practice Mastery, Learn Success Secrets of the World's Top Upper Cervical Doctors, highly recommend you get it. You can actually get a free digital copy at our website. If you go to uppercervicalmarketing.com, you can get a free copy of Upper Cervical Practice Mastery, a digital copy right there. I'd love to get that in your hands so that you have you can take a deeper dive on some of these topics we're going to talk about today. So let's get into the mindset box. So first part of this mindset is you have to want to lead and mentor an associate doc, right? And so if you don't want to do this, if you really don't want to do this, like if there's any hesitation on this, I encourage you to think through some of these things. One is, who mentored you in this work? I know, for me, doing upper cervical work, I had some people who poured into me and really invested in me early on in my career in chiropractic, and that made a huge difference in my technique and in my practice and just in my life. And so I'm very grateful for those people. I'm sure that you have people like that as well who mentored you in this work. And so think about those things. Think about who mentored you, how did they help you, those types of things, because that can start to inspire you and encourage you to want to lead and mentor other doctors. What do you know that you could pass on to another doc to help them be successful? So you think back to when you started your practice and everything that you know now compared to what you knew then is, I'm sure you know a ton of things that you wish you would have known then. And so someone coming right out of school or someone coming out of another situation where they're coming into your practice, you can be able to help them get so far ahead of where you even were when you started by just passing on that information that you've learned over the years. And then the other thing is just part of just understanding that at a certain point, you're going to reach capacity, right? Regardless of how good of a doctor you are, how efficient you are, how good your systems are, how good your team is. At a certain point, you can only be in one place at a time. You can only be seeing one patient at a time. And so you're going to run into a capacity issue, whether that's depending on, your technique, if that's at $40,000 a month, or if that's at $70,000 a month, which I've seen doctors who are solo practitioners who are collecting $70,000 a month. And that is, the max of what is even physically possible. But I'll tell you, at some point, you're going to get to that point where I can't see any more patients. I just don't have enough time in the day. And also to have a life, right? You have families, you have social things, you have other things you want to do in life other than just see patients. And so understanding that if done right, an associate coming into your practice can help as many people, or help twice as many people in your community. It can help you double your practice. It's a key piece of that process of doubling a practice. The other thing is you got to make sure that you are purpose driven. So this is part of that mindset box you got to check is, are you driven by your purpose? What I've seen over the years, and myself personally too, and in my business and in my practice before, is purpose is the driving force behind all top upper cervical doctors. And really it's the driving force behind all successful people. BJ Palmer said, a man without a purpose can be distracted, but a man with a purpose cannot be stopped, right? A man without a purpose can be distracted, but a man with a purpose cannot be stopped. It's one of my favorite quotes by him, and it's a powerful reminder that if you have that purpose, if you have a big purpose in mind, you can accomplish so much. But so much of it is you've got to get other people around you. You got to build that team. And so when you're thinking through your own purpose and making sure that you are a purpose-driven doctor, you got to be thinking through some of these questions like, why did God put you on this earth? What were you designed to do? How can you make a powerful impact in your community? How can you leave a legacy? These are some of the questions that can drive you when it comes to having an associate and just making an impact in your community. Starting to determine your own personal purpose and your practice mission will allow you to keep your mind focused. Mark Twain said the two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. I love that. Last part of that mindset is thinking through your core values, your vision, and your mission for your practice, right? And so we're going to spend some time on this because this is something that we see a lot with doctors who are struggling in this area, who aren't, they feel like they might not quite be ready when it comes to having a culture in place, having a team and systems in place when it comes to ready to bring on an associate. And a lot of it comes down to this. Do you have clearly defined core values? Could you name the core values of your practice? Could your team members, could your CAs, do they know what your core values are? If you say no to that question, then I guarantee you that you're going to have some problems with this. You've got to be clear on what the core values is of the practice. It's essentially what your company's all about. It's a collection of characteristics that outlines what it means to be a team member of your practice. So for instance, one of our core values at UCM is team, right? And so our description of team, that core value of team, is we're team members, not employees. This is not just a job. We're doing work that matters. Our team is on a mission to help sick and suffering people all over the world. We win together or we lose together. We reward performance and results on our team. We have fun and enjoy working together as a team, right? So that's an example of a core value. One of our core values is team. And so making sure that you have clearly defined core values for your practice. They're the foundational pillars of your company. When it comes to, once you have these core values established, then you can hire team members based on those core values. You can hold people accountable to that standard. You can, when people on the team are not living up to those core values, you can call each other out on it, right? A lack of congruence with core values is a major reason why someone should not be working with your team anymore, right? So core values is a key piece to helping you have a solid culture that you can bring an associate into so that they will thrive. If you haven't thought through that, then it's going to be more difficult to bring somebody in who's going to be your highest paid team member into an environment that is not as clear and focused as it should be. So the best way for you to determine what your core values are, if you don't already have these established, is to first determine what's most important to you personally, right? So you want to go back to your personal purpose. As I mentioned earlier, really make sure you know what your purpose is, that you've written it out, that you have a clear understanding of a one sentence purpose of your life purpose and how your practice is helping you accomplish it. That will help you to be led towards understanding your core values. And then from there, you can do a brainstorm and really start thinking about the words that come to mind as you go through some of these questions here. You can take a screenshot of this and go over this with your team. What's the initial impression or feeling people have as they approach your office? How do people feel when they walk into your lobby? How do people feel when they call your practice? How do patients feel when they meet you for the first time? What is a patient's first visit like in your office? How do you want your patients to feel? How do you want the atmosphere? What do you want the atmosphere to be like? How do you want your team members to feel about the company? If a patient was describing your practice to someone else, what words would you want them to use? If one of your team members was describing your practice to someone else, what words would you want them to use? If you were telling a friend about a practice, what words would you want them to use to describe it? So some of these types of questions are really helpful for you to get crystal clear on what's most important. What are those core values of the company so that you can get those laid out. And as you begin to answer those questions, you want to capture words that keep coming up, right? Words. The more words you have, the better. Next, you go through and you circle those different words, right? So literally you start writing down these words on like a whiteboard or piece of paper, whatever, and you start circling those words that are most important of the ones written down. It's also good to get input from your team, especially if they've been with you for a while. If you have a CA that's been there for several years, really understands the practice and what it's about, help them be involved. If you have your spouse, get them involved. Anybody else, that you could really help understand what the practice is really about. Once you've accumulated those most important words, you start to kind of put them together, and you want to start writing out definitions of what it means. Like I talked about with our team core value, team is the core value, but then we have an explanation of what that means, right? And so what you want to look for is 3 to 7 practice core values and a basic definition of what you mean by that core value. That's a key piece of setting up your practice for success when it comes to bringing on an associate, and really just in your team culture in general. Having that clear core values will help you with your team and your patients and your associates. So from there, then we talk about a vision, right? A vivid vision means that you can clearly see what the practice looks like in the future and what you want it to look like in the future. Because again, bringing on an associate to a practice where you don't have a clear understanding of what you're looking to do is very difficult, and you're setting yourself up for failure. And so you want to not only have that core value, those core values, but also that vivid vision. And so asking yourself some questions about this when writing your vision What will your practice look like when it's done? How many patients would you like to see on a weekly basis? How many new patients would you see on a monthly basis? What's your target for collections each month? How many team members will you have working in the practice? What will your role be? Right. So clearly, thinking through that thing and seeing how an associate fits into that vision is really, really important, because without that vision, it's not going to help. You're not going to be able to clearly see the direction you're going. And a good vision is basically broken down into 3 sections. So, taking out a piece of paper or Google Doc or whatever and start writing out, just write out who we are, who our patients are, and where we are going, right? That's the 3 sections of a good vision. Who we are as a practice, right? A lot of that goes into our core values, right? Who our patients are, who are we looking to attract, who are we looking to serve, where are they? Are they, in this community and other communities around the area? What are some of the struggles that they have? What are the issues that they're struggling with? What kind of people do we want to serve? Do we want to serve families? Do we want to serve athletes? Whatever it is, target market, niche, all those types of things. And then where we're going. This is where we are now. Where do we want to go? What does the future look like for us? What does success look like for this practice? What does growth look like? What do we want to do as far as serving our practice? So those 3 things are really clear and important for a vision: who we are, who our patients are, where we're going. So here's an example from our UCM vision. In our who we are section, and we say, this is a portion of that section. It says our team serves sick and suffering people who need hope and healing. We do this by utilizing our God-given talents, gifts, and skills to communicate hope and healing messages that are practical and actionable. Our leadership team believes in empowering our team members. We believe that we can either have control or growth, but not both. So we delegate authority and not just tasks to develop leaders. Our entire team is results-oriented. We win together, we lose together, we reward performance and results while having fun, crushing our goals, and working together as a team, right? So that's part of our who we are as a company. You can see that this is related to one of our core values, which is team, right? So tying it all together, core values and vision should be linked together in many ways. You want to keep your vision to less than 3 pages. Make sure that you get it real clear, and that's going to help you with your decision making going forward. It's going to help you with picking an associate that's going to fit well into your practice culture and your vision. And then lastly, the mission, right? The mission is a 1-sentence rallying call, right? It's something that the team can rally behind. You want to make sure that this is prominently displayed throughout your entire practice. People can see it. Your patients know what it is. Everyone knows that this is your mission. This is what you're trying to do every day. It has to be something that you're passionate about personally, your team is passionate about, and it should focus on a bigger purpose. It should be a crusade for your practice, right? Our mission at UCM is to bring hope and healing to sick and suffering people for the glory of God, right? That's what we are about as a company, right? That's our mission. Every single day, that's what I focus on, is how can I bring glory to God by bringing hope and healing to sick and suffering people. Obviously, we partner with upper cervical practices to make that happen, but that is a key piece to who we are and what we do every single day. So for you, it should be a rallying cry, right? It's what everyone can get behind. They can be excited about. They can get up every day and say, yes, I do that, right? At UCM, we love giving people hope. We've seen people get well, which is why this mission statement is perfectly suited for us. So make sure your mission gets you and your team fired up. Okay. So that was box number 1, mindset. You got to want to, you got to have the want to, you got to want to lead and mentor an associate doc. You got to be purpose driven to want to help more people. That has to be the driving force behind hiring this person. And then you need to make sure that you have a clearly defined mission, vision, and values, so that when you bring this associate doctor into your practice world, they're going to fit well and really strive. Let's talk about box number 2. So real quick, before we get to box number 2, if at any time you want to dive deeper into any of these things that we talk about, we'd love to chat with you. You can get a free practice strategy session by going to our website, uppercirclemarketing.com. We do a lot of different things to help doctors grow their practices, practice growth systems, practice growth sessions, including our Associate Accelerator Academy, CA hiring and training made easy for the UC practice, Transition Out of Practice Academy, lots of different things that we have to help doctors regardless of which growth stage they're in their upper cervical practice. So let's talk about box number 2, finances. So in order to bring on an associate, 2 things have to be true when it comes to your finances. One is you need to be collecting at least $35,000 per month. And 2 is your overhead needs to be 50% or less. All right, so let's look at both of those more in detail. So $35,000 per month. What does that mean? And why is this important? Well, because we found over the years that if you're going to be successful bringing on an associate, you need to be collecting at least $35,000 per month consistently, right? So that's averaging $35,000 per month in collections or more for about 6 consecutive months before considering adding an associate, right? So it's not, oh, well, I collected $35,000 a month for the first time last month and I should get an associate next month. No, you need to be doing this consistently in order to have the stability to bring on an associate, right? 50% or overhead or less is also a key piece to this, because if you're collecting $35,000 a month, but your overhead is $22,000, then you're not going to have enough margin to pay yourself, your taxes, build an emergency fund, be debt-free, reinvest in your business, all the things that you need to do in order to have a successful business. So if you're in a high overhead area, then you may need your practice to grow more than 35K to bring on an associate, right? So that's a really key piece, making sure that when it comes to finances, you've checked both those boxes, $35,000 a month, 50% or less overhead. So that's, when we look at overhead, some might, be wondering, like, what is overhead? Well, overhead includes everything that's necessary to run your business, right? So this includes your payroll, your rent, your utilities, your marketing, equipment, supplies, insurance, consulting services, basically all your expenses, right? All your expenses, you want them to be about 50% of your total revenue or your total collections each month in order to have that type of stability in order to bring on your highest paid team member. So that's box number 2, real straightforward, collecting at least $35,000 per month, 50% overhead or less, right? It either is or it isn't. That's what we found. If you're not, both of those aren't clear, or if both of those aren't yes, then you're going to have some issues with this. Box number 3, team and systems. Your team and your systems have to be right in order to bring in another doctor. If you have a team that isn't in the right position when it comes to motivation or training, it's likely not going to work well. If you don't have systems that are clearly defined for your entire new patient journey and your existing patient journey, then bringing an associate into that world is also most likely not going to work well. And so let's talk about both of these things, team and systems, and what needs to be true for you to check this box. So, is your team motivated, right? Are your team members hungry to help more people? Are they saying, you know what, we need to get more new patients in here. We need to get people to refer others. We need, we want to help more people in our community. Are they driven by that? Are they excited by that? Right? Or are they just happy when you have a slow day so that they can work not as hard? Right? Are they incentivized to help more people through performance bonuses and recognition? Right? Do you tie how hard they work at the things that are most important to your practice to their income? Right? For instance, do you give them bonuses when they schedule new patients, when new patients show up, when people start care because of what they've done to help them through those initial new patient stages? right? And do you have a success story culture, right? So where you're consistently capturing patient success stories through reviews and video testimonials and stuff, and you're celebrating them as a team to keep everyone focused on the mission, right? So that's part of that motivated team. Could you say yes to all these questions? Our team members are hungry. Our team members are incentivized to grow. And our team members are excited because we're consistently helping them to remember what we're doing and the impact we're making in the community. The other part of this team box of checking the team box is do you have a well-trained team, right? So do you do weekly team trainings with role playing and feedback, right? Do you do that as a regular cadence in the practice where you're consistently training with your team? Do you have a system to track and record new patient phone calls? Every one of our clients who is running one of our systems, as part of their dashboard, they have a call tracking numbers and call recording so that every single one of their new patient phone calls that come into their practice is recorded. And so they have the ability to hold their team accountable and to have transparency around new patient phone calls. Do you have a system like that? If not, again, be a great thing to talk with us so we can help you with that. Because another part of this well-trained team is, do you have a culture of accountability and transparency, right? Where your team they're motivated to get better. They want to have accountability and transparency so that they can be better on the phone. They want to make sure that when they're talking to somebody that's sick and suffering, that they can help them to get hope and healing in your practice, that they can schedule that appointment and get them to show up. Do you have weekly team meetings that are actually effective, right? Do you do meetings together? Are they a good opportunity to move the practice forward, or is it just a time to complain, right? A well-trained team is a huge part of making sure that this is going to work for your practice. And then the other part of this is systems, right? Do you have clearly defined systems? Do you have clearly defined systems with checklists and milestones and scripts for the entire new patient journey, for the existing patient journey? Because if you bring an associate into a practice that doesn't have a clearly defined system for how to handle a new patient journey, an existing patient journey, then they're not going to feel well supported. They're going to feel like they don't know what to do. And that's going to not give them the confidence that they need, the clarity that they need, the certainty they need to be successful in your system. Are your systems documented? And do you consistently update those processes? Do you utilize your systems in your weekly trainings? Do you use your systems to hold your team accountable to the standards? Right? So these are all part of having clearly defined systems. For instance, one of the systems that's absolutely crucial to your practice is your new patient phone call, right? If your new patient phone call's not right, you can't do anything else, right? You can't do a consultation or exam or x-rays or report if the person doesn't schedule the appointment. And so we have a really nice checklist for you. If you go over to our website, uppercirclemarketing.com, practice growth tools, or if you just click on resources, you can find it there too, practice growth tools. And you can download this as a free download, new patient phone call checklist. Great resource for you to use at your front desk in building a really solid system there. So highly recommend that for you. So another part of system development that's really important, especially when it comes to bringing an associate on, is to develop systems that don't depend on your personality for success, right? So regardless of your personality, in many ways, your practice is a reflection of you. So when you hire an associate, they're not going to have the same personality as you, right? This is why it's crucial to develop milestones, checklists, and scripts for every aspect of that new patient and existing patient journey so that you can train your new associate on the systems rather than having to be just like you, right? Huge difference. You can show them, hey, this is the system. This is how we do this. Not how I do this, but this is how we do this as a team. This is what we do in order to make sure that all the milestones are reached so that you can define those milestones and help them to reach them during the system so that they can communicate effectively in their own way, their own personality within your system, right? So that's a key piece of this, having a system rather than just having your personality drive it. So here's an example of this. A new patient consultation. So it's a basic system. Obviously, you could develop this a lot more, but if you take a picture of this, you can look at this and see that this is something that you could start with when you're building a system for a new patient consultation. One, with any system, you always want to have a goal in mind. Like, what's the goal of this part of our new patient journey, right? And so for a new patient consultation, what's the goal? The goal is to agree to an exam, right? You want them to move to the next stage in the process and be excited about it, right? So that's really the goal of a new patient consultation. You have a focus of that particular system, which is to listen more than you speak, right? Ask questions and listen. That should be the focus of a new patient consultation. And then you want to have some avoid what you want to avoid during that system. And for the new patient consultation, you want to avoid minimizing words like okay. When they say, yeah, I've been having migraines for the past 10 years, and you say, okay, right? You don't want that. That's no good, right? So you want to make sure that you avoid minimizing words, and you want to have efficiency within a new patient consultation. Approximately 7 minutes is an ideal new patient consultation, but no more than 10. When you go beyond 10 minutes, you've lost control of the interaction with the patient, and the effectiveness of that new patient consultation goes down dramatically. And so having some milestones in place when it comes to a system like this. For instance, greeting. How do you greet the patient? What do you do when you go into the room that they're there in for that consultation? What is the first question? That's a milestone. Probing for head and neck injuries, right? That should be a milestone of every new patient consultation. You should be talking to them about head and neck injuries from their past, beginning to connect head and neck injuries to current health problems through questions, and then transition to the exam. So that's an example of milestones within a system, right? So do you have these types of things? Do you have this laid out? Is this clearly defined within your practice so that when you bring an associate on, you can show them this and walk them through this and train them on it and give them feedback on it so that they can be successful within your system? So box number 3 is team and systems. Do you have a motivated and well-trained team? And do you have clearly defined systems for the entire new patient and existing patient journey? All right, so that's the first 3 boxes. Now let's move on to box number 4. But first, here it is again. If you want our help, docs, we would love to help you. We're all about helping you grow your practice wherever you are in your practice journey. If you're looking to bring on an associate, we'd love to chat with you and help you through that process. If you have some issues with building your systems in your team, we would love to help you with that. If you're looking to grow the practice in any way, shape, or form, that's what we do every single day. So box number 4, expectations. We're going to talk about how to set clear expectations for not just your associate, but also for your whole team, making sure that everybody understands what their expectations are for results and for success within your practice. So we're going to talk about job scorecards. We're going to talk about having a role description for your associate, talk about a position agreement with KRAs and KPIs, and talk about an offer letter. This is all part of box number 4, expectations. So first of all, job scorecards. Again, we have a really great tool that you can get over at our website, uppercervicalmarketing.com, practice growth tools, or just click on resources. You can find our practice growth tools there as well. Job scorecard template, right? Easy. Download it, start using it in your practice. Use it with your CAs, and then you can adapt this for your associate, right? It's a really great tool. A job scorecard basically is a way for everyone, both you and the team member, to know clearly what success looks like in that role. And we recommend, using that job scorecard every month. So every month you review the scorecard, you go through the measurables, you check off and you write down the metrics, you go over that with the team member, give them feedback on how they did, how they can improve next month. That will help you to keep really focused on what success look like in that particular position? And that will help drive the success of the entire practice. And it's really going to set you up. If you start using this with your CAs, for when you bring on an associate, you can already have this type of a culture that's focused on transparency and accountability by using this job scorecard. Secondly, role description. All right. I say role description, not job description. Role description means that for this role within your practice, like we've been talking about, with your core values, your vision, your mission, your purpose, right? Your specific practice, what is this role look like for your practice, right? So starting to create this role description, right? You just want to start writing down, what is an associate going to do within your practice, right? Just start writing down what results you're looking for them to accomplish. How are those results going to be measured? How are they going to be supported? What can they expect from you as the clinic director? What can you expect from them? All of this should go into your role description for this position. Just start writing this stuff down. And then you're going to use this when you search for an associate on job boards and other advertising means. You're going to use this role description. You'll be copying and pasting this a lot of different places as you go through and look for an associate. Another big part of setting clear expectations and checking this box is making sure that you have a position agreement, right? So we talked about job scorecards. Position agreement is what the associate, and you can use this with CAs as well, is agreeing to do within your practice, right? So this is part of your onboarding process. When you bring an associate into the practice, you want them to sign an agreement of what they are doing, what they're going to do in this role, right? And so the position agreement will always include KRAs and KPIs. These are key results areas and key performance indicators, right? So key results areas are what are the results that you're looking for that associate or team member to accomplish, like on a daily basis. What are you looking for them to do, right? What does results look like? What does winning look like for them? And then how will that be measured, right? So every KRA should have at least one KPI, a measurement that says this metric will tell us if you're hitting that result. So again, we got a resource for this, right? We got tons of resources to help you. And so if you go over to the website, you can get our hiring resource kit. It includes a position agreement template in there. You can use it with your existing team members, and you can definitely use it with associates as you bring them on and you hire them. You can have this clearly defined what the position looks like and what results and measurements you're going to be using. The last part of setting clear expectations is having an offer letter, right? So an offer letter goes with the position agreement. So, just so clear on the stages of this, right? So role description would be used as you're gathering information for your, this position, for your advertising, for everything you're doing on the front end, looking for an associate. You're going to take some of that information from the role description and create a position agreement with clearly designed KRAs, KPIs for that position. And then you're going to then also take some of that information from the role description and put it into an offer letter, right? An offer letter is basically you offering them the position, having a clear picture of what they're going to be paid, what their bonus structure is, what their benefits are, what their PTO policy is, all that kind of stuff, paid time off policy, vacation policy, that type of stuff, right? So thinking through that as you're writing down your role description, how much are you going to pay an associate? How are you going to pay them, right? Is it going to be a base plus some kind of a commission type of a role? Or is it going to be, all base, or, is it going to be all commission? There's a variety of different ways you can do it. That, again, it depends on your practice, depends on where you are financially. It depends on a lot of different things. And if you want to have a conversation specifically about that, reach out to us and we can talk through your specific situation. So once you have all this clearly defined, though, you'll put this in an offer letter when you offer them this position. So it's good to think this all through now. So Box number 4 was expectations. Job scorecards. You want job scorecards for all existing team members. If you're not already using job scorecards, get the template, start using them with your existing team members. And then when you bring on that associate, you can use them as a feedback tool every month. Role description for the associate, position agreement, offer letter. You can get all those with our free resources over at the website, uppercirclemarketing.com. And you can see that again, uppercirclemarketing.com, to help you. And as always, again, free practice strategy session. Schedule it with us. We'd love to talk with you more about your specific practice situation, where you are right now, and how best to help you go to the next stage. Box number 5, new patients, right? New patients are key. You've got to have enough new patients for not just you, but for your associate as well when you're bringing on an associate. So making sure that you have digital, internal, external marketing systems to attract enough new patients to fill both of your schedules, right? So that's what this box is all about. So, for 10 years, we have been known as Upper Cervical Marketing. We've helped tons and tons of doctors bring hundreds of thousands of new patients into practices. This is what we've done, right? So we're all about this. We understand what it's about to brand yourself as a unique upper cervical specialist that you are. We're the only agency that does this specifically, that focuses on you, upper cervical specialist. And so we understand how crucial it is, how important it is to brand you both online and offline as the unique upper cervical specialist that you are, that's congruent with how you practice, who you are as a doctor, and all of that. And so that's a crucial piece of this, is if your branding's not right and you bring an associate into this, then you're going to have some issues with that, right? You want them to come into a well-branded practice, well-established practice online, connected practice in the community, so that they can step into that and be successful in your world. And so, a big part of this is having effective digital marketing, right? So, with all of our clients, we encourage them to record videos. And I encourage you to record videos, whether you're a client of ours or not. Recording short videos, frequently asked question videos, condition specific videos, your story type videos, upper cervical specific videos. Record video testimonials. We talked about that before, success stories. Focus on the before and after state. If you get 2 a month, you get 24 a year. That's awesome. And you want to put them everywhere, right? I mean, we obviously, with our doctors, with our clients, we help them with this tremendously. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, everything, right? So you want your practice to grow online, and it will also help it to grow within the practice as well. Another big part of this is the internal system, right? So not just the digital system, but also the offline system within your own practice, right? Do you have a clear process for educating patients through the entire process that leads to referrals, right? So that new patient phone call, like we talked about, so important. We help doctors with that all the time. This is one of the areas where we see the most problems with upper cervical practices is with their new patient phone call. And a lot of times you just don't have any idea because you've never heard them, right? You just hope for the best. You may have given them some training, maybe train them on the regular, but unless you're actually hearing those new patient phone calls, which you get with our system and our dashboard, you don't know. You really don't know how it's going, right? How many of those calls are they missing? I mean, how many of those calls are they losing, right? They're getting on the phone with people who are excited to come into the practice, and they're talking them out of it, or they don't answer their questions right, or they just don't lead the call in the right way, and the person never goes to the next step. So making sure that is solid is so important. And then going into a system with the consultation, exam, imaging, and report, where a patient goes through that process and really has a clear picture of what's going on with them, how their past history is leading to their current health issues, and they've got that clear in their mind. And then you give them a plan. You give them a care plan. You give them a clear plan of what it's going to take to get them to a place of healing, a place of health, a place of stability that brings them in that next stage. And then you got to make sure you're doing progress exams, right? So many doctors we talk to don't do progress exams or don't charge for them. And so making sure that you're doing progress exams, helping them to understand, remind them where they were when they started, where they are now, how much progress they're making, so that they can consistently understand that, get that type of understanding. And also, it's a great opportunity to capture success stories and also to capture referrals, right? So this whole process, when done well, will generate referrals at every stage. And then lastly, that patient education system, that overarching system that makes it all work together, that you're consistently communicating your unique upper cervical approach, you're talking them through that whole care plan, and you're working on them understanding it in a deeper and deeper way so that they consistently refer others to you. Another huge one for external marketing within your community is to build a health practitioner referral network. We have a podcast. If you don't know that, we have our UCM podcast, Upper Cervical Marketing Podcast. We've done nearly 200 episodes of it. Highly recommend you listen to it. It's fantastic. And we get, it's free. You can listen to it all you want. And in episode 40 of our podcast, we talk in detail about how to build a health practitioner referral network. Encourage you to go and listen to that podcast. It's a great one. And, to build a health practitioner referral network, what we recommend is doing a provider night or a study group within your practice. And, bringing in 10 to 15 health practitioners into your community, or from your community into your practice on a monthly basis or quarterly basis. And, really getting them into, building relationships with them so that you can begin to refer patients to them. They can refer patients to you and really get a good feel for that. And so, when you look at this, building the health practitioner referral network, the first thing you got to do is you got to get out there and talk to people, right? You got to meet these practitioners. And so scheduling appointments with them and then getting into their offices, talking with them at lunch or in their office or whatever, and just basically saying something like this: we're doing a study group or a provider night at my practice on, Tuesday, November 6th and at 7:00. And we'd love to have you there. It's a way for us to build relationships, but it's not what networking. Networking is like stepping into a pool of piranhas. Everybody wants to eat each other. Nobody wants to give, right? So everybody just wants to take. But this is going to be designed for collaboration. It's going to be designed on relationship building. That's longer term. It's going to be built upon creativity. And, you just say, that's what we're going to be doing starting this month in my office. Would you like to be involved with it? Right? Would you be interested in coming? There's going to be certain people that are going to resonate with that. They're going to want to come to this type of thing. It's highly, highly effective if you can get them into this on a regular basis. And there's going to be some others that just don't have the time or energy for it. And so getting out there, meeting people, starting to connect with as many as you can. You want to invite 10 the first month into your practice for the first one that you have. And then the next month, go out and invite 10 more, right? You want to create enough diversity, enough pool of people who are coming in and out, and try to refer other practitioners that attend right away too. You want to make sure that, you're keeping them in mind, you refer to them as you can, and just making sure that, you're thinking about them and their practice and what they're doing as well. And if you want a deeper dive on this, wrote a blog post about this, the steps involved, you can go to that website right there. That blog post has a more deeper dive on that. And of course, episode 40 of the podcast also will dive into how to build a health practitioner referral network. So again, Doc, just wanted to thank you so much for spending this time with us today. This was I hope it brought you a lot of value. If you check these 5 boxes, I can almost guarantee you're going to have a great and successful associate experience. And so if you need help with any of this and help with any of these boxes, schedule a free practice strategy session over at uppercervicalmarketing.com. We can talk more about our growth systems or growth sessions or, associates, CAs, whatever the situation is. We want to help you grow. And so thank you again for spending this time with us. We love you. We love this. We love upper cervical. And as we always say, go team upper cervical.